your organization and you're moving, in this way. I mean, from somebody else's organization to your organization, and you're building this team completely. How do you communicate? How do you make them work? How do you bring changes?
I think different people require different drivers.
Different people require different drivers.
So we have to figure out what drives. Somebody loves to be, acknowledged publicly. So you if you figure that out, that's what you do.
That's the assessment.
And somebody is more bothered about security, so you kind of assure him that his or her job is secure. I mean, I don't think there's one thing that works. And since we have a very small team, it's still very small. It's easier to know most of the people. I think the loss you suffer because of a bad recruitment, especially at a mid-level or slightly senior level, is huge. So because you lose time, and a brand like us, doesn't get very good CVs all the time. We have to hunt for them, maybe use personal connections or personal relationships. So we have to be very careful to recruit the right people, especially people who will lead teams. One thing I always kind of keep reminding the team is that we are building, I hate the word managers, I mean, we are building citizens for the future. People look at very narrow kind of definition of education. Now education should be skilling. Skills are steroids, right? So they have to keep changing, right? But I think sustainably we have to make better citizens of the country who are prepared to navigate and prepared to lead. So I say that you guys have to be examples, because like a child, the parents tell him all the good things, but he or she observes how they behave. And that is much more influential in how they grow up than what they are told. So I think that itself, that realization, so if you're talking rudely to a student, and students lie all the time, their parents lie all the time, and it's a fact. I mean, medical certificates today can be created by ChatGPT. It does a lot of good things, it does a lot of harm also. Okay, and we know it's false. And if you ask the PGP girl, she says that I get 40 lies a day, for attendance, for this, for that. I mean, we are not dealing with saints. I'm being very, very honest with you. But yet we have to keep in mind that they are lying because maybe their training so far has not been, in the line it should have been, or because it's out of stress, it's out of so many things. So you have to tell them that it's not the right thing. I'll tell you what happens in institutions. When faculty sits down and talks, they'll say that, the students are horrible, they don't attend class properly, they don't come prepared. So I had once written in my WhatsApp faculty group that, question bhula dene wala answer. I mean, the answer is such that you forget what question you asked. Okay, so these things happen. But the thing is, if you're constantly complaining about the quality of students is a given. Then change your job, or go to an IIM Ahmedabad or someplace if you can get through and get those quality of students who actually probably don't need you as much as these guys do. But we have to work with what we have, right? So, and we have to, I always think that our performance should be measured by the amount of delta we can bring in the person who walks in and the person who walks out after 2 years. I mean, the fundamental thing is what is he or she when he walks in. I mean, that 22, 23 years of training cannot be completely done away with, and some very new human being cannot evolve in 2 years. But what is the best we can do? So these are the kind of conversations a couple of us, our chairman and I, sometimes have with the team. And it's sometimes frustrating for teachers. Now I know what our teachers would have felt when we used to behave like that at school and college. And another thing is scale and quality. It's very difficult to scale an educational institution and still maintain quality. So the other thing we have done, maybe unintentionally, is we haven't scaled that fast. So we are still, we can still get good opportunities for our students and all of that.
That's what takes us to a new problem statement, which is, if there are lies happening in college and there are lies happening in organizations also, and that's the place where coaches operate. So do you have any example, any one of you which you can bring in? I mean, of course you as well, because you have experienced coaching and you've been doing it. That, I mean, people have really said, no, this is a lie, and just let me face the truth. So any experience or anything which you can bring in?
One of the toughest things to actually give is feedback to a very senior leader. And many times we all will face these challenges when somebody is actually thinks that he is in a certain level, but he is actually in a different level. He is in a certain orbit, and to go to the next orbit you need tremendous amount of escape velocity, which that gentleman or lady doesn't have. How do you give a feedback to him? An equivalent of, that guy says, I'm damn good, and that part of it. And maybe connecting back with CP is the point which you said was getting the right person up front, making the right choice at that point of time, rather than wait for a few years, live with a mistake by the time you have really spent your time as well as his time. I think as a coach, one of the most important traits that you all should have is the ability of discovery. Even if you're able to get one or two elements of what is the person's DNA, which that person doesn't know himself, I think you'll be a fantastic coach. And I think that's what makes a difference between a good and a great coach, is discovery and the ability for you to know the wood from the trees, part of it here. It has helped me. Maybe I'm not answering your question directly, but it does help if as a coach you're able to help the individual discover and then make the right choices for the organization. Companies have to evolve, and Ratna would have seen this. Tatas are more of an empathetic company, family-run companies. Very, very difficult to let go a person. But companies are evolving, and I'm sure, as I heard everybody also, kind of with new leaders coming in, new owners coming in, you definitely have a DNA change and would kind of move on, would need to move on. In your interactions with the colleagues, etc., and you know that when you discover that the person's DNA is not fit, better to tell now rather than wait and delay the bad news. Please deliver the bad news first. It really helps the individual in the long way. To come back and really bless you much later, then it's really struggle for the 2-3 years he's here and then you have to move on. I think the ability of a coach is to help that person discover that in the right way, right spirit, because you can't ask a monkey to swim and a crocodile to climb a tree. You need to find out who is best for what, and a coach can do that well.